We're going to bring on now Sam Collins, who is one of our star reporters here at the Washington Informer. Covers lots of things, but his official beat is education. And we want to talk to you a little bit, Sam, about what's going on with the schools. How are you doing?
She's here.
Sam?
I'm doing well, Denise. How are you?
Good, good. Glad to see you. Wanted to first ask you about the mayor, because I know that you attended the press conference this week and she was supposed to make her announcement about the opening of schools, and she's delayed that. I wanted to find out from you, from that press conference, what you got out of that.
No problem. Well, first of all, the ultimate goal, as was told to me by Mayor Bowser, is to see that students learn in person in an individual situation. Students would be able to learn in person and get the most out of that experience. At this time, that is not possible, according to what we have seen in the COVID data, with more than 50 deaths. No, not more than 50 deaths, more than 50 diagnoses this week and 3 deaths. So, at least 3 deaths. So, with that being said, going up to the 31st, allow DC more time to assess whether or not schools are open or if students will be in at 100%. But right now, they provided a spectrum of options. So, with what parents want, because there are parents who want to send their kids back. And if they could send their kids, and you have other parents who might want to do all virtual, they would be allowed to do so. And then you have another group that if they want to do a mix, there would be an opportunity to do that as well. But the two factors that are standing in the way of solidifying that is first the current pandemic, just to stay, and also staffing.
Right. Sam, we're having some delay in our connection. I mean, you're coming through, but there are some delays and some feedback. So just wanted to share that. But we can hear you. We're going to bring on Washington Teachers Union President Elizabeth Davis. We're so glad. We tried to have her on before, and here she is now. Glad to see you. Ms. Davis, how are things going?
Fine, Denise. Thank you. And hello, Sam.
Peace.
I think I'm getting an echo. Did you hear the echo?
Just a little. Yeah, we do.
We'll make it work.
Yeah, we'll do that. I think, but we can still hear you. Sam just gave us, and you may have heard him. I mean, from what he's talked to regarding the mayor's delay in announcing the opening of schools, and I know all jurisdictions, not only here in D.C. but across the region and across the country, are trying to come up with what they think will be a safe formula. What's the teachers union position on this?
Well, the mayor and I and Chancellor Furby actually talked on Tuesday of this week about the reopening plan. She did inform me that she wanted to open on with the hybrid model of partial in-person teaching and partial distance learning. And the WT's position is that we, at this time, based on what is going on across the nation, what we happen to know about the resources that our schools have for having capacity to reopen safely, we thought that opening 100% virtual would be the best way to go in DC. And our members, we have told our members, 98% of them indicated that they thought it was safest for students and themselves to open virtual. For a number of reasons. And just to make this point, Denise, a lot of us, most of them have already said that they want to return to in-person teaching. Teachers know better than anyone else that there is nothing to replace in-person teaching. Virtual learning, distance learning could never do that. Students need to engage with their teachers. Teachers want to engage with their students. They want to return to that format. However, for teachers, our priority is safety. First, for students and for school workers, including teachers. We have 60% of our teachers who have reported underlying health conditions, so we cannot ignore that. If we open with a hybrid model, it means that there's a possibility that some of those teachers would be required to report to brick and mortar schools. And I don't think that you should have to be put in a position where they would need to make a decision about whether or not they should protect the safety of their family, themselves, in order to maintain a job. So my position when Mayor Bowser contacted me on Tuesday, we had a number of questions about, I had a number of questions to Chancellor Furby and to Mayor Bowser about how do we address the issue of, number one, 40% of our teachers living in PG County. And PG just announced this week that they were going to open 100% virtually. So that does have an impact on DC. And my hope was that DC was going to work in collaboration with the surrounding jurisdictions, Virginia and DC and Maryland, because we do know that what one does is going to affect the other jurisdiction. So when I heard you ask Sam, well, why do you believe that she decided to delay her announcement? I'm hoping that it had to do with the fact that PG made that announcement, and that we know that it will have implications for DC public schools. If 40% of our teachers live in PG County with school-age children themselves, if they would be able, what would they do if they're required to report to in-person buildings? But more importantly than that, Denise, the safety issue is one that is extremely concerned. Teachers are extremely concerned about.
I would think so, and I wanted Sam to jump in because I'm sure he may have a follow-up question. Sam, go ahead.
I'm hearing as it relates to the degree that teachers were engaged in the discussions, I'm hearing conflicting views about that, from the teachers and then from the mayor's office themselves. Like, what has been your take on that, as far as to what degree they've been consulted so far about the overall decision?
Okay, and I do believe, Sam, that here in DC that we basically there's a divide in what we consider to be authentic collaboration. And I think we have a misinterpretation of what that means. For teachers, that means that they're sitting at the table when the plans for reopening are being developed. It doesn't mean that they're going to get a memorandum from Chancellor Furby saying that this is how we will do it. That is not collaboration. Or a phone call to Liz Davis in the middle of the night to say, tomorrow we're going to announce that. Not our idea of collaboration. So Chancellor Furby and I talk each week. But I do not consider those conversations as collaboration. In our conversations, we talked about the need for the team working with DC Public Schools should work with the WTU's Reopen Task Force. We have identified who those teachers are. Over 200 teachers have worked on a reopen plan during their vacation and before their vacation, after school and on Saturdays. 200 teachers came together when I called them to develop a task force for reopening, pre-K through 12. We want details. We want to be specific about what is age appropriate for pre-K through fourth graders, special education students. And the best people to go to for how to do that safely are the teachers themselves, because they know the habits of early grade kids. They know which ones are capable of socially distancing. They know what's age appropriate for distance learning in terms of platforms to use. So we cannot leave teachers out of the conversation or out of the planning for how we can reopen safely. That has not happened. And when I say collaboration, that is what I mean. Working together side by side, individual teachers who worked on this reopen plan and the chancellor's team, whomever he wants to designate, to work with them and laying out this plan.
Ms. Davis, we're getting a lot of feedback from our viewers, and we're so happy that they're weighing in. But they're agreeing with you. I mean, they are talking about the need to protect teachers' health, because we have heard that children can be carriers of the virus, although they may not be affected. And they're concerned about, like I said, teachers' health and the fact that teachers haven't had a voice. So I think that from what I can see, folks are supporting your voice in this effort. So do we? I don't even know yet. Do we have we don't even have an opening date yet. Is that correct?
Well, the mayor at an earlier press conference announced August 31st as the first day for students. That's only weeks away. And Denise, I think that we know we need to have a lot of safety protocols in place. Signage, PPE, the whole 9 yards. Excuse me.
So I know that she's been talking a lot because she was on WPFW before she joined us today. So I understand her need to get that drink of water. Sam, we're going to continue to cover what's happening with the schools, of course. And I know that some parents are even coming up with collaborations where they're doing some homeschooling and that sort of thing. And teachers are even, particularly substitute teachers and others, are coming in and actually creating curriculum. Well, not creating curriculum, but creating opportunities for parents to kind of come together in groups. But that doesn't address the overall issue with our schools. So, Ms. Davis, I'm going to give you just a minute to close, or Sam, if you have a closing question, we're going to need to move on. But is there something else you wanted to ask?
Yes. If we can speak about, the press had on, what's going on right now, it just seems like there's a lot going on, and everybody has, different ways that they want to go about reopening, but the federal government's applying this pressure. Like, to what degree might that have
And Sam, that's a very
affected events in DC?
And that's a very good question, because one of the points many of our teachers made was that they had hoped that whatever reopening plans our city leaders and school district leaders come up with, that it's not going to be guided by the politics from the feds, but basically will be guided by science. And as you know, in DC, we still have trust issues, understandably so. We want to make sure that whatever plans, and of course, President Trump has threatened governors, mayors across the city, pressing them to reopen 100%. We're hoping that our city leaders will simply not adhere to that, not follow that plan. And I know that there must be pressure on them in order to do that. But the WTU is willing to work alongside Mayor Bowser and Chancellor Furby in working out a plan that would not put us at risk health-wise. And of course, we do understand that she's working with all of these constraints that are hanging over her head, but also believe that she cares about the citizens of DC. Chancellor Furby cares about the children and teachers in our schools, and they're going to make the right decision about what we need to do and not be influenced by a misinformed president. And that's the best way I can put that.
Washington Teachers Union.
Misguided, not misinformed. Misguided.
Right. Got it. Washington Teachers Union President Elizabeth Davis, thank you so much for being with us. Again, I want you to know that the door is always open for you to join us. We will be following what's happening with the school system from now until, well, forever, but particularly now until next year. It's some interesting dynamics that are changing the whole landscape, not only as it relates to teachers, but students and parents. So thank you very, very much for being with us.
And I want to thank you and the Washington Informer. Sam is he basically keeps in close contact with us. But I want to thank you for your fair and honest reporting of the issues in this city, because our citizens need to hear the truth. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sam.
Bye-bye.
All right.